Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we're joined by a very special guest. He's the founder of Uplift 360, Mr. Wes Towers. How you doing today, Wes?
Very well, Ryan. Thanks so much for staying up. I realize I'm on the other side of the planet, and this hour is perfect for me, but it's it's a bit late for you. So thanks so much for staying up and connecting.
Hey, not a problem, ma'am. So the number one question the audience is probably wondering, who is Wes Towers?
Sure. Well, there could be so many ways we could take this. So a big aspect of who I am is what I do, and I think that's common for men. But I run a digital agency. We do websites and search engine optimization and all of that fun stuff. Mostly for construction, trades, industrial brands, those sorts of people. That's who I am in the workforce. Behind that, I'm a father, which is obviously far more important than anything you do in a work context. And so I have three children. The eldest is 20. He's working with me 1 day a week, which is a fantastic thing because as they get older and they move out of home and so on, you wonder if you're going to lose contact with them. They get busy with their own lives. And so it's fantastic to have that opportunity to work with him 1 day a week. My second son is really big in the gym. So he's kind of, I guess you would say, a bodybuilder, really, really built. And he loves that world. So he's made inroads for a local gym to specialize in that field. So he's working there now, which is fantastic, living his dream. And my daughter, she's 14, so really creative kid, really perceptive, artistic, and the whole world's before her as well. So that's really who I am. In a lot of ways, who I am as a father is a massive part of who I am.
Yeah, awesome. So do you get in the gym and go work out with your son?
No, so he goes to more the specialized gym that's really specific it's called Strong Geelong, and it's really for really big built guys and girls. And that's not me. I'm an old man. I would feel really out of place in there. I go to the regular gym that for everybody. It's called Anytime Fitness, and it's more for your mums and dads like me who just want to stay fit. So yeah. He's in a different style of place.
Awesome. So you founded Uplift 360. What inspired you to start it?
I always wanted to start a business, and it was always a dream and a vision. And I anticipated doing it a whole lot later than I did, but opportunity presented itself. There was a guy that I knew who had already started a business. He tried to build out a business similar to what my career path was. He was doing websites, and he got to a point where he felt like he just wanted to go back and get a regular income and regular job. He wasn't winning enough work, so said, I'm going to throw this in. I've had enough. I'm going to get a real job. And he called it a real job. And so I said, well, what are you going to do with your couple of clients you have? And he said, well, you can have them. And so I did. And that was the start of my own business. So it was very, very small. And I started just in the evenings. So just doing a little bit of work for these couple of clients until such time as I could build it up to a point where I could go full time, which was probably 18 months, something like that from memory. It was really great because my employer for my day job was really supportive of what I was trying to do. I was really open with him. And in fact, he actually sent me further work as well. So, he was an entrepreneurial guy, really well regarded in the industry and well known in our town. And so he gave me a few open doors as well, which is fantastic.
Awesome. Do you regret it? Any of it? Walking away?
Oh man, no. And this is why I love your show, the title. There's so many times in which I felt like I've walked through the fire. Business can be tough. No matter what you do in life, I think there's tough seasons that you need to walk through. But I think even when you go through those tough chapters, to realize the last chapter, which might have felt terrible, doesn't need to be your final chapter. So you get to write the future chapters in your life. And even though sometimes it's been horrific, really, there's been instances where I've been crying under the desk like a baby just because things outside of work have just been horrible. And so getting through those tough times and realizing you can get through this, and there's resilience. You build every challenge you work through, you build a new level of resilience. So I think that's the beautiful thing of business. It just seems to amplify aspects of life and reveals things. Kind of like that. This show, there's the concept of the refining fire. So all the dross gets burnt away. So the things that are not pure, that are not gold, eventually diminish because they're burnt away through that fire. Whilst it might feel painful at the time, it's certainly worthwhile in the long term.
Nice. So, what was probably the toughest thing of you making that transition from going from like just a regular job to running your own business?
I was really naive to business. So as I said, I started a lot earlier than I anticipated I would. But I had no understanding of how to run a business, how to do client meetings. I'd been to a couple to observe, take some notes with the salespeople. I'd only worked in the industry a few years, really. So after university, I worked in a marketing company, and so it was all new to me. I didn't know how to do a proposal, how to quote, how to run your books and your tax and all of this stuff, and just felt inferior. Walking into boardrooms, and have meetings, and always just felt like I didn't belong. I just had a lack of confidence. And so those were the things that were really holding me back. With the lack of confidence, it meant that I probably wasn't charging what I needed to. And so that's no way to run a business. You won't last the distance if you're not charging appropriately, because obviously you need the income. That's the lifeblood of any small business. So you kind of figure these things out, and you get mentors in your world. The best thing that I did, and I did it almost by accident, was started to go to some networking groups and even some mastermind groups and so on, and learnt from others by observation, but also to speak to these people who had done it before.
Yeah. What was probably the biggest game changer for you to help you build that confidence and help you get rid of those limiting beliefs you had about yourself?
Yeah, one of the things was I was invited last minute to speak at an event through a workshop, and it was for professional speakers. It was Professional Speakers Australia is what it's called. So it's for all those people who speak professionally and get paid to speak, platform speakers and that sort of thing. They wanted some expert advice around search engine optimization. They'd had someone lined up to do this workshop, and for whatever reason, they couldn't get there. And I'd been on someone's podcast, and they remembered me and said, they called me and said, "Can you come quickly speak in a couple of hours?" And I did that. And then after that, they said to me, "Oh, would you like to be a part of the group?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a professional speaker." And they said, "What are you talking about? You just spoke to the whole room." And so I said, "Well, yeah, I'm not a professional speaker, but I can speak." And they said, "Well, that's a qualification. You're more than welcome to be a part of what we're up to." So I did that at the appropriate level for a while, but that was a really big game changer in terms of helping me raise my eyes and standards a little bit in terms of the value in which I could communicate to people. Now, still, I'm not a polished speaker by any means, but I have confidence in the message I have to share and the value in which it might help another business person or people in general. So I have confidence that the message is strong in terms of what I have to deliver, and the other things are less important, I suppose.
I love it. That's where it kind of starts, is just taking action and building that belief through action.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you learn by doing, getting the reps in. It's like building muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyone who's been to the gym, it feels hard to lift even smaller weights, but as you get the reps in, you build the muscle, and it's those micro tears, that you need to have that to build the muscle and the resilience, so you can get to greater things.
Yeah. So do you guys mostly with your business work with construction firms then?
Yeah, mostly. It wasn't always that way. So we I always knew the power of niching, and most people in marketing understand that, because it's just so far more easy to market to a specific type of person. because you can get really intentional and deliberate about your message. You grow in your understanding of that market, so you understand what works, and what works for one company is likely to work for the next to a degree. Now, every company's kind of nuanced and different, but you've got a base of knowledge to build upon, which is really helpful to shortcuts to success quicker. So I kind of found myself in that niche by accident, in that majority of our better clients were kind of in that field. And these were the clients that were happiest, getting the best outcomes. And it's kind of like happy client, happy business founder for sure. So, they were getting great outcomes. I realized, hey, this is the niche that has found me. It kind of feels like in my whole life, the best decisions are those that felt like they found me rather than the other way around. It wasn't something that was forced. It was something that I set myself on a journey and a path, and was getting momentum. And as I got the momentum, things started to fall into place. And I was just aware enough to perceive what the opportunities might be. And so you've got to have a level of perception and awareness to see what might be. It's kind of like any entrepreneur has that foreseeing capability to perceive what might be with it, and what value they can bring to the world.
Yeah. Why do so many construction companies still struggle to stand out online in this economy?
Yeah, it's really difficult. And I work with construction companies all around the world, really, different trades, construction and industrial. And it feels like, for the most part, well, certainly the English-speaking world, let's say. So it feels like most of us have lived through different seasons of really challenging times and times of abundance. So in the abundant times, you haven't really got to market yourself all that strongly, because there's an abundance of work out there. And we certainly saw that, pre-COVID, there was an abundance of work and so on, and people were doing really well. And so the marketing kind of falls to the wayside, and everyone's websites look outdated. The message is wrong. They're not worried about doing it on social media. But when things turn, for various reasons, economic challenges, we're living through some challenges right now. These challenges will continue to come and go. But when challenging times hit, there's two kind of ways of taking it. You can just cut your costs and not do any marketing at all, or you can realize, hey, this is the one source of bringing in new business to the company. We've got to double down and do more of it. There's two mindsets. You can go either way. And so I don't try to convince or persuade people to go either path, but obviously for us, we help support people in their marketing journey. So in those tough times, and we've got, tough times right now as well, obviously, particularly here in Australia, and lots of places will have this impact with the building materials costs. It's incredibly challenging. There was that time through COVID as well, which feels like not so long ago, but we're having that now, obviously, with anything to do with oil, and, diesel transport, even just moving materials from A to B. We're a long way from the rest of the world, So and our landmass, our country, is quite large. Whilst population-wise, we're probably quite small comparatively to a lot of other places. We're a big landmass, and that means you got to truck materials a long way sometimes, and so that's making everything costly. So these are the challenges that people in our the people that we serve there they face, and we've just got to work through with them and see opportunities. And they might need to make micro adjustments for the short term to keep income flowing, but always have a view of the medium and long term as well, of how they go about marketing themselves.
Yeah. What are the most costly website mistakes, and how do you fix them?
Yeah, there's lots of mistakes, and the mistake we're seeing right now, it's come about because AI has enabled people to do things themselves, which is great to a degree. But what it means is people are not necessarily getting expert guidance and advice. And so the design of a website should be there to enhance the message. The message that you want to share to the audience is the priority. So good design will help guide the eye through the key points of the message, simply because not everyone's going to read every word on your page, on your website. So you've really got to think about how you guide the eye through to the core elements that are really essential, and and to have a call to action, some form of what is the next logical step someone might take if they're interested in whatever it is you're sharing. So thinking about that sequence. So good design will help encourage that, but bad design will not so much have that in mind. And when you design something yourself, you haven't got that understanding of how that works. So what you'll typically do, and you might jump on an AI tool to do it, is build your own website, and all you'll do is guide it based on your own preferences of style, design, and what you think looks nice, which realistically it's not about looking nice. Now, of course, you want it to look professional and polished and all of those things, but the main objective is to get the outcome that you're trying to achieve. And you simply won't necessarily, you might fall on it by accident, jumping on a tool and building your own website, but yeah, you really want to be intentional about these things. So that's probably the biggest mistake right now, people just jumping in. And you can do all sorts of crazy animation, which looks cool and it's exciting and it's easy to do now. But that might have a wow factor, but it won't necessarily bring more business into your world.
Yeah, I still remember doing, like, in my digital marketing class I did in college, like looking at websites and just like looking at it, how they were formatted and everything, and like just like how much of it you ignore.
Yeah.
Like just the design, like you only focus on certain areas when you pull it up.
Yeah. And the way in which we think about it evolves and adapts as well. So back when I first started websites, and still to a degree that people talk about this, but people used to talk about the fold. So a website, and the language came from newspapers. So you would have a newspaper and it fold in half so you could only see what's above the fold. So that language came into websites. So what above the fold meant what you can see on the screen before you scroll. But that became challenging because it's not like a newspaper is a fixed kind of size that folds always the same kind of way, either in half or in threes maybe. Every screen is different. You've got mobile phones and you've got tablets and you've got PCs, laptops and massive screens, and people might be on multiple screens. And so how do you possibly design in a way in which you're considering above the fold and below the fold? It's a dynamic space that you're playing with. So you've got to consider all these different sizes and experiences people might have with your website. And so that's another challenge, I suppose. People, when they design a website, they've only got one sort of format in mind, and they haven't considered how it restructures. And just the language, it's kind of funny how we think about things. We understand how things are right now based on what we've experienced in the past. So just that concept of thinking about it like a newspaper, that's kind of foreign. The young people these days probably never even touched a newspaper.
Yeah.
They probably can access the newspaper online, but hardly anyone's touching an old school newspaper. So things change and expectations change, and it keeps life exciting for us.
Yeah. Is search engine optimization still relevant with AI in the mix, or is there a smarter way to get found?
Yeah, there's definitely, it's still really important for all of our clients, still their leading source. I think this is true. It would be all of our clients. Their leading source of traffic is through Google and other search engines. But the traffic has diminished significantly. And the reason being, when people need to research something, they're not necessarily jumping on Google anymore. They can jump on ChatGPT or one of the other AI platforms. They might also jump on social media and ask their friends or in a page or a group there to do various questions so doing their research in different ways. They're not necessarily just jumping on a search engine. So there's less traffic coming through search engines. However, the traffic is of a higher quality, because by the time you jump on Google, typically you're closer to ready to buy something. So it's in a way even more important. It's just that it's changed. The good news is that ways in which you optimize to show up really highly in Google are the same ways that you can show up in large language models. Because of course, if you're in a town and you're a plumber, I'm in a place called Geelong, which is just outside of Melbourne. And so if someone's looking for a plumber, yes, they might just go on Google and say plumber Geelong, and find all the people who might be appropriate. But they might have a specific need, and they might jump on ChatGPT and say, hey, I've got a leaking pipe in blah, blah, blah at the base of the toilet. How do I solve this problem? They'll talk to their ChatGPT. And then they might say, who in my region of Geelong might be able to support me in this? That's where you want to show up as well. So the good news is the same content and optimization strategies will help you show up in Google, but also the large language models, which is where you need to be these days.
Nice. What's probably the simplest way a business owner can take today to lift their inquiries?
Yeah, I think marketing has changed to a massive degree, and the old school method that we were speaking about this a long time in the marketing world is the lead funnel, the sales funnel, the concept of funneling people, capturing lots of leads and whittling them down to eventually having them as a customer or a client. So that linear sort of process, and there would be various touch points and strategies to do that. You get them in the lead funnel initially by a lead magnet. So that might be a free resource, an ebook or a video or something that gives some sort of information away for free. But realistically, we knew it wasn't for free because we were giving away part of our privacy, our email address, our name, maybe our phone number, potentially other things as well. That's even more security concerns are related to whatever you're giving away. So a couple of things happen. Firstly, we don't need to download that free ebook anymore because we can get that information just talking to our ChatGPT typically. And so that means less people wanting to download free resources. And the value in which we place on privacy is becoming more and more important because, you hear horror stories of privacy problems all the time. And so people are putting more weight on their privacy, and they don't want to be spammed for the term of their natural life, which sometimes if you download something and it feels like you can just never get off that list, and everyone's experienced that. So far less people downloading the free resource, and so that linear process of a funnel is broken in my view. We need to think about it more of a cycle. So, and the end goal isn't a client or a customer. Actually, that can be the start of all your next marketing messages, because your very best next customer likely looks just like your best customer right now. And so thinking about how you repurpose the work in which you're providing, say you're a builder and you've built a dream home for your customer right now, well, that should be repurposed into case studies, stories. Hopefully you'll get a great Google review. Think about all the things you can repurpose that work into real life examples that other people can see, because the funnel is broken, but they're engaging with your brand in all sorts of ways. They might have seen you in the truck, it might be signed up on the side of the truck. They might have seen some of your workers if they've got uniforms at the local basketball, after school basketball, or, there's so many touch points that people can experience your brand in, and you haven't got control of that linear process anymore. They can come in on social media and podcasts. They might hear about you, and maybe in the local newspaper, if people still use that, or wherever it is, they'll come into your world in all sorts of ways, and you need to find a way to build reputation and trust in your brand. So that's the way we kind of think about marketing these days.
Yeah. I see. And everybody is trying to push the funnels. And me personally, I'm like, I don't want you guys to continually harass me with all your emails.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's it can be really frustrating sometimes. I mean, if you're really engaged in something and you're making a decision, you might still join someone's funnel. You know what's happening now.
Yeah.
You'll download the free resource because you really, really want it. It's of a high perceived value, and that's useful, but it's not the best way to market anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. How can smaller firms beat bigger brands online with limited budgets?
That's when niching is really, really valuable and important. Now, of course, if you're in a small town, we work with a lot of trades, and maybe you're an electrician, let's say, and we call them Sparkies here in Australia. We've got nicknames for everything. But if you're an electrician in a small town, let's say you're the one of two electricians in that town, realistically, you're going to do most types of electrical works that you're capable of doing. So you wouldn't really niche. But the good news is you've only got to be better than that other person, because there's only two of you in the town. But if you're in a larger city, well, there's lots and lots of competition, and it's really difficult to compete if you're going to be a generalist. Because how on earth do you beat the big guys, especially for the bigger jobs that are really juicy and profitable? The only way you would ever beat them is to be specific and niched, to be intentional about the exact type of work you provide and the exact types of people you serve. Then you can focus all your energy and attention on being the specialist in that field, and it's far easier to market to that. Well, we run a small agency, tiny in comparison to a lot of our competitors, but we're winning work in the construction and industrial brand space, global work, that we simply wouldn't be able to win if we weren't super niched. They come to us because they know we provide exactly what they want, and we've got lots of experience in specifically what they're looking for. So that's the way to beat the big guys. And you're not going to beat them on every playing field, but figure out which one you want the most, which one you feel you can deliver the best, and you can grow a deep level of knowledge around that thing and market to that one thing. Market to your ideal client. The others will follow. You get other work by accident, and that's cool, keeps life interesting. But if you market to the very best, you've got a good opportunity to win that work.
Yeah. How do you cut through the marketing noise and focus only on what matters?
Yeah, well, this is really important too. And I think there's just so much information out there, and we don't necessarily trust it anymore. So trust is massively eroded. You used to hear people say things like, you'll believe, seeing is believing, those things of that nature, which is a horrible way to think about what to believe things these days, because you cannot believe what you see. You can't believe the photographs you see, because they're probably AI generated, or videos. We've all seen fun videos of celebrities who are long past Michael Jackson and so on, that we know is not really them, but it looks like them. It looks genuinely, authentically them, but we know it's not, which is kind of fun and exciting, but it's also terrifying because we cannot trust. Seeing is not believing anymore. You cannot believe what you see. That's no way to put your faith. Don't put your faith in what your eyes are telling you. But you can, to a degree, put an element of faith in what trustworthy people tell you about a company. So you've got to build, obviously, a company with a great reputation, and have other people endorse you, because get good Google reviews, and build case studies, have photographs of the projects you've worked on if it's something that's physical. Which is so helpful. It helps you cut through all the noise, because everyone's just creating lots of people are creating content that's generic and bland because they're relying on a tool to just pull it all together, produce it. We don't even know if anyone's even proofread it before it's published on the social media. But if it's authentically your voice and you've built trust and reputation or authority, and it's things that only you can share, then you've got a good chance to stand out above all the noise.
Yeah. So how would you go about building, is that what you say? Just go out and get more, how would you say, more customers to kind of endorse you and give you reviews to build trust more?
Yeah, anything you can do. So that's a really important piece, I think, is to figure out a way in which you can gently prompt people to leave reviews, is powerful. Google reviews. We like Google reviews simply because we build websites optimized to get Google's attention, and Google love anything within their ecosystem. So they love it when you've got Google reviews. But also other people know that they can trust them to a high degree because they're hard to artificially create or manipulate. And some people try, but they end up getting caught oftentimes. So there's a high level of trust on them. So the challenge with it is, it's human nature for people to remember to leave a negative review, because that emotional, if you've done a bad service or perceived bad service, people will likely leave a bad review because that emotion is so strong. But when you've left them with a wonderful service, they might be really impressed with what you've delivered upon and be really happy with everything. But they're less likely to remember to leave a Google review. So I would say find a way to gently prompt them and just say, hey, do you mind leaving a Google review? Really helps a small business like ours. And lots of people will do that. It's just that they haven't thought about it, because that, unfortunately, the emotional state of a bad experience is so much more powerful than the emotional state of a good experience. So you've just got to gently prompt people. Do a great service. Of course you need to, that's priority. That always should be the important thing, but gently prompt people. But also, that's just one aspect to build trust, have it with the work you've done for that customer. So if you can write a case study or a story or an example of the project you worked on. We had a new client come on board not so long ago. I thought they were a tiny operation in Sydney, and it wasn't until they started telling me some of the projects they've worked on that they're recognised buildings. Certainly throughout Australia, everyone would recognise some of the buildings that they've worked on, and I had no idea. And probably some of the buildings are globally recognised, I would say. I had no idea because they'd simply not published this information anywhere. And so simply by introducing it into their website, we built a new website for them and lots of case studies, just to see the photographs of the things they've actually worked on. Only they can say they built that thing. And so that's a massive trust factor element as well. But it all works together. All these trust signals help to establish a brand these days.
Yeah. What did building a business in tough times teach you about growth and resilience?
Yeah, resilience is so important. And the interesting thing is, I really do believe that you don't get thrown anything your way that you can't get through life. But certainly in the early phases of business, it felt like challenges that felt like they would derail me completely. You work through and you get through those scenarios, and you build a level of resilience, and you get to the next challenge, which is slightly bigger. It always feels like, and you work through that, and you just looking back on some of the challenges that felt like massive mountains to overcome back in those days. Looking back at them now, they seem like small mountains. So it's the beauty of life. I think businesses just amplify everything to a higher degree. Everyone has challenges throughout their life. It's in some ways the beauty of life to overcome, these stories of resilience. They're just so powerful. They're things that we can share to other people and encourage them through their own journeys. But business seems to amplify all of that because the stakes are higher, your income's dependent on it, your reputation. There's a lot at stake. You're supporting your family and so on. So there's so much at stake. So everything feels a little bit more amplified, more important. So it suits me really well because I enjoy it. I enjoy the war stories and the journey, and I think helping other people through the journey is also helpful. That's why I love being on podcasts like this. Once I saw your show and the title and listened to a few episodes, I thought, yeah, I've got to be on that show.
Yeah, like I said, if I was to ask you, did those tough times prepare you for where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. It feels like that for sure. At the time, it never feels like that, does it? It feels, at the time, whenever you're having a challenge, let's say someone's listening right now and they've got a significant challenge, likely even in 12 months, the challenge will have passed. They always do pass, and it will feel like it wasn't such a big problem. It's just that in the moment, it always, because sometimes it requires attention and action of some degree, but sometimes it doesn't require any action, but because it's a stressful moment, it kind of circulates in your mind endlessly, and you might lose sleep over it. And I'm not diminishing. I don't know other people's challenges. They are genuine. They are worth, the thought and consideration. But oftentimes when you get 12 months down the track, and realistically, it wasn't as bad as what you thought it was going to be. It was just fear that was causing lots of problems, perceived what might happen, So getting through those tough times is really important, and realizing, hey, this will pass. One way or another, it will pass. Yeah.
Yeah, and history has a way of repeating itself. So if you didn't learn the lesson, it's liable to happen again down the road.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I've made so many mistakes, and you know, the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. And that's ideally what you'll do. You know, you'll have guidance and mentors and people around you in your world that can speak into your life. Really, really important. No one should be doing life alone. So you need great mates. We call them mates here in Australia. You need great people around you that have a strong enough relationship that they can feel like they can say something. And, you know, if you need to correct course somewhat, they can say, they can speak into your life. And so you need those people in your world. You need to be open and vulnerable to people that you trust. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I love that. What was your biggest mistake you made building your business, and what was the lesson you learned from it?
Yeah, this one was early on. Maybe the business has been operating over 20 years. So it might have been about 7, 8 years in from memory. I had a small team with me. I had a lead developer, and I could sense he was a brilliant mind, really, really smart guy. And I was privileged to have him working in our team, but I could sense he was getting a little bit bored with our work. Maybe it was below him to some degree because it is quite repetitive. And so anything repetitive can potentially become boring if you're doing it long enough. Now, the design element, there's always the creative, and that's always different. But behind the scenes, the way in which you do the work, the standard operating procedures that remain the same. So I could sense he was getting bored, and this opportunity came across my desk for a website which was really complex, really difficult. I had no idea. I wasn't smart enough to know how to do it. But I thought, well, this guy might be engaged in this. So I showed him, and he said, yeah, I definitely know how to do it. He said, great, I've got no idea. Can you do the proposal? I'll present it. We'll see how we go. We did that. We won the job. And a couple of weeks in, he quit working with me anyway. So all of a sudden I had this massive job that was set to take months. No way of knowing how to build this thing. So, man, I lost so much sleep. Lost a lot of money as well over the months because I couldn't take on any other work. I just had to invest everything I had because I felt like it was a promise. I did the proposal. I said I was going to do this work. I'm going to do it and do whatever it takes to get it done. And I did that. But it was a lesson learned the hard way, not to take projects on for all the wrong reasons. I took it on to keep this guy engaged in our team, and he left anyway. So I realized, hey, stick to what we do best and don't deviate from the path, our vision of what the business looks like and what sorts of work we do and what we don't do. What you say no to is really important because by saying no to some things allows you to say yes to other things. And so that was a massive test, and I failed in the test, but I learned the lesson, and I didn't make that mistake again.
Yeah, that's a great lesson right there for anybody, because we all have a tendency to say yes, 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 and sometimes we just need to say no because that opportunity might just not be right for you at this moment, and there might be something better.
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes I've learned this to trust my instincts a little bit more. People will call that various things, intuition, or you know, for those that with a faith might say the Holy Spirit. But I trust when there's that prompting that something's not quite right. Sometimes you just perceive an opportunity whilst everything looks right, but there's something in you that says something's amiss here. I'm trusting that guidance a whole lot more than I ever did before because I've found that it's usually something that's significant. You know, there was a job not so long ago that came across, and I just didn't feel like it was right to take it on. And a couple of months later, I saw that company folded and left a lot of people in the lurch. So I would have been one of those companies who never got paid, and it was a significant amount of work. I would never have got paid. I had no evidence or proof that something was amiss. I just instinctively knew something was not quite right. And so I think you need to develop that in you, whatever you choose to call it, and really trust those things. As I said before, you can't trust your eyes, what you see. You can't trust what you read. all these things people used to say, seeing is believing. Man, that is so false. We're living in a different world right now, and so what are you going to put your faith in? You know, I think it's a testing of people's faith. What really are you going to put your faith in?
Yeah. If you were starting your business today, what is the single biggest move you would make first?
I think the best thing that I did early on was joining those groups. I would get into rooms filled with wonderful people. So I would join networking groups. I would join masterminds. I would get into rooms that I felt underqualified to be in. Just like that professional speaking group, I felt underqualified to be there. But it was a powerful room to be in because I could learn by observation of these people in the room, but also build relationships and connections. So you're learning by observation, but also speaking to them and making ways to learn. So I would figure out a way to get into the most powerful rooms that I could that were influential people, even if it costs a small amount of money to get in there. That's what I would focus on. The people aspect of business is really, really important. And I think it's going to become more and more important as AI takes care of a lot of the technical stuff that we do and used to sell and so on. That sort of stuff is diminishing in terms of the value of how we deliver that, because everyone's getting the same tools. But the human connections and the relationships, I think that's where true value is now.
Yeah, exactly. Man, how much did you just going into those rooms just like make you like start believing you could do it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it just lifts your standards to a higher level. Being around the right people. They say, I forget what the phrase is, but you become similar to the 7 closest people around you. That I don't know what the exact saying is, but it's certainly true. The people you surround yourself with are the people you end up becoming like to some degree. Now, not every aspect of every person that you have in your world you'll want to apply learnings from, because they're just not who you want to become. But those that are, it's really helpful if you can see and observe what could be and apply their necessarily learnings to your own life. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's such an underutilized tool where people like, oh, I got to go pay money to go in this room, but it's like this room will make you better quicker.
Yeah, 100%. It's all personal development, isn't it? Really, business develops because you, as the founder, develops. I think it's they're intertwined.
Yeah, so true. How can people get a hold of you?
Uplift360.com.au is our website, and AU being an Australian website. And but you'll see, if anyone jumps on there, they'll see brands that we've worked with all around the globe. So no problems whatsoever with that. And they can book a strategy call with me direct. There's no obligation or anything. I love people. I love connecting, love chatting to all sorts of people. So people can book a strategy call with me there. And there's everyone will find the social media links in the footer of the website too, if that's.
Yeah, and I'll drop all that stuff in the show notes too for you.
Yeah, brilliant.
And for anybody listening. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
No, this has been a great show. I'll just say, I know life, there's a lot of challenges and potential displacement of work with AI. And I would say just to set yourself a vision and think like an entrepreneur, try to perceive what the future might look like and figure out your career journey and how you might adjust where you are so you're positioned for whatever's coming in the future for your particular scenario. So you need to think like an entrepreneur. Even if you're a employee, if you perceive something that's potentially going to change, and you have a suggestion of what that might look like, take that to your boss. Your boss will love you, even if they don't fully appreciate your thinking and your strategy. They will definitely, almost every boss will appreciate someone who brings a new idea and a thought to them, because it shows you're thinking about the company, you actually care about the company. So it just positions you as a worthwhile employee. So, if there is job displacement, you got to be in the best position to go forward with the company.
Great advice. All right, final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned it earlier. The chapter you're living right now, whilst it might be terrible, it doesn't have to be your last chapter. You get to write the future from here on. You get to determine what that life looks like. So you might be living through a season that's really difficult. Some of that might be self-inflicted. Some of it might be outside of your control. That's what it is right now. But you don't have to stay there. You can keep walking through that journey and that season, and the future can be determined by the actions you take right now.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, Wes, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your great insight with all of us and your story.
Thanks, Ryan. It's been brilliant. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.